far, we've been working with automations that handle one piece of data at a time. A new email comes in, we send a response. A calendar event is created, we notify the team. But what happens when you receive a whole list of data at once? Let's say you just got a spreadsheet full of leads. Maybe you imported a CSV file, pulled a report from a marketing campaign, or received a bulk list from a data provider. These leads already exist in Google Sheets. But a normal automation won't work because it only triggers when a new row is added. It won't process rows that are already there. That's where loops come in. Instead of trying to push the entire sheet into your CRM at once, which wouldn't work, a loop grabs each row one by one and adds them as leads, just like you would manually, but fully automated. And this doesn't just apply to leads. For example, imagine you're running a customer support team. You just received a batch of open support tickets in a spreadsheet, maybe imported from another system, and instead of manually copying them into Zendesk, a loop processes each one separately, assigning them automatically. Or let's say you run an e-commerce business. You just had a big sale, and now you have a list of unfulfilled orders in a spreadsheet. A loop lets you process each order, generate invoices, and send tracking emails one at a time, automatically. Loops let you take bulk data and process it step by step, just like a person would, but at a scale. Now, let's put loops into action with a real-world example. Picture this. You're working in sales, and at the end of the day, your team uploads a spreadsheet full of new leads from a recent campaign. Instead of manually entering them into your CRM one by one, we're going to build an automation that takes every row from the sheet, loops through them, and adds each lead automatically. This means no manual data entry, no missed contacts, just a seamless automated workflow. And for this demo, we'll be using HubSpot as our CRM. Let's get started. First, log into your Activepieces account and create a new flow. Since we want this automation to run automatically every day, we're going to use a scheduled trigger. Why a scheduled trigger? Instead of waiting for a new row to be added or triggering manually, this ensures our automation checks for a new data on a recurring basis, making it the most efficient way to process leads in bulk. Once you set your schedule, go ahead and click Test Step to make sure everything is working properly. If the test comes back successful, we're ready for the next step. The action following our trigger is called Get Next Rows. Now, you might be wondering why we're choosing this action instead of new rows or new spreadsheet. Because new rows triggers only when a single row is added, and new spreadsheet only works when an entirely new file is created. But we want to process multiple rows at once, so Get Next Rows is the best choice. Once selected, let's configure it. Connect your Google Sheets account. Select the spreadsheet where your leads are stored. Choose the specific sheet, also referred to as the ID of the sheet. Set the starting row. In our case, we'll input number 2 since the first row contains our label names. Finally, define the group size, which are the total number of rows we want the automation to pull at once. Once everything is set up, click Test Step to make sure Activepieces can retrieve the data from the sheet. If you see a green check mark, that means everything is working properly and we're ready for the next step. Now comes the magic. Click the plus icon, go to the Core tab, and under Flow Control, select Loop on Items. Once selected, you'll see a field called Items. This is where we tell Activepieces what we want to loop through. Open the data selector and insert the Get Next Rows output. Click Test Step to confirm the loop is set up correctly. Now that we have our loop ready, it's time to add our leads to HubSpot automatically. Click the plus icon inside the loop, select HubSpot, and choose the action that fits your workflow. Since we're working with an entire list of leads, we'll set up actions to create a new contact, company, and deal for each row. All right, now we'll take a quick break to set up our actions. And by the way, if you want us to make more videos about setting up automations for your CRM, drop a comment below because that's definitely its own separate video. Now that we've set up our actions and tested each step to make sure everything is sending data correctly to HubSpot, it's time for the final test. Now, let's test the entire flow. Click Test Flow to run through the entire process. If everything executes successfully with no issues, that means we're all set. Now click Publish to make the automation live. Now let's check HubSpot. As you can see, all of our leads have been added in just a few seconds, complete with contact, company, and deal details. From now on, we can add more rows to the spreadsheet and our automation will process them automatically. If needed, we can adjust the start row and group size to control how many leads are processed at a time. We can even duplicate this flow for different spreadsheets or campaigns to automate multiple lead sources. And just like that, we've built a fully automated system that eliminates manual data entry and keeps our CRM up to date effortlessly. You can get started with Loops today by signing up for a free account of Activepieces. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're loving this Activepieces 101 series. And stay tuned for our next video of the series about AI automations. See you soon!